Nobody wants to admit that their parents are drug addicts, right? Especially like when you're in school, you get teased, your mama's a crackhead, So as an adult, learning to say, it's not about me, but it is about me and my healing. It is about me and my understanding, but I'm still on the fence of the why with him. And that's why it's still mysterious to me. With my mother, she kind of told me a little bit more. And I know my mom's she started because of trauma. Her mother and her sister being murdered by my uncle. It's traumatic to lose your whole family in one fell swoop, right? And then living with survivor's guilt because the story I was told is she was supposed to go and didn't go. So she's not only living with the trauma of the loss, but she's living with the trauma of the survival and not having the tools to deal with that and turning to substances instead. So, I have a little bit of her backstory. I don't necessarily have that yet from my father, besides the stories he's told me of starting it in the war when he was in Vietnam. But after that, we haven't really had full discussion about it. And so I'm still searching that why. And I'm hoping that, through my blog, I will get my own courage to be able to ask that question one day.
What tools do you recommend for your clients or anybody that is trying to break out of reactivity into more of intention?
The first thing I think is to really talk them through the understanding of the disease, right? So many people that have this disease feel shame, they feel guilt, they feel embarrassment, right? And getting them to understand that this is a reaction sometimes, right? Not necessarily you're such a bad person, because that's the first thing that a lot of people say, like, oh, I'm such a bad person. I, chose this over my child or over my, wife. Getting them to understand that it's a disease, right? So we kind of lift that guilt off, lift that off their shoulders. Like, okay, so not that it's normal, but it is normal. Right. And so once you can normalize it, right, you take away some of that guilt and shame, then we can get to the heart of what's the real problem. But as long as people are operating in that guilt and that shame, it's hard for them to see anything else. It's hard for them to see a future. It's hard for them to see mending relationships, right? Because they stay in that closed compartment of, well, this is just how my life is going to be. I've messed up too much. I can't get any of that back. So kind of letting them know, like, hey, what you experience is normal, right? It's normal. Now let's work through it. Let's work through it, right? Because although like it's normal to get angry, doesn't mean that you have to stay angry, right? Just because maybe you got addicted to pills because you had a car accident. Okay, it does happen, right? You're not abnormal. It does happen. But now let's get to a place where we address why are we still doing this behavior, right?